would have been.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadebunker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
Happy New Year, Kenton.
Happy New Year to you, too.
How was your holiday break?
We're back at school, and I can't remember it. How was yours?
It was good. Did you get any Star Wars-related
Yes.
gifts for Christmas? What'd you get?
Well, I bought myself Fallen Order, the video game.
Right.
So that was my gift to me.
I'm going to get that, and we're going to talk about it in more depth in a later podcast.
Caroline got me IG-11 Star Wars
That's
Black
awesome.
figure, and I was really happy to have it after
Yeah.
I watched the finale, which we'll talk about today. But and also because I'm such a fan of The Mandalorian, the AT-ST from The Mandalorian.
Oh, with the red eyes.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have red eyes,
okay.
actually, but it has the Marauder figure, and it takes you... It looks great. It looks fantastic, but it takes you like maybe 2 hours to get the damn... You realize that the physics of a chicken walker look better on TV than in real life.
It doesn't really work in real life. Okay.
So a couple Star Wars related
That's
items.
awesome.
Yeah,
I got my
it is.
kids.
How about you?
My kids know, of course, that I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and they got me, first of all, this lovely Kylo Ren bobblehead.
Oh,
I was hiding that so you didn't see it ahead of time.
that's with the crack mask.
Yeah, so it's Supreme Leader Kylo Ren with the little red marks where the cybernetic chimpanzee welded his mask together, whatever. Can we just say that was such a weird scene in the middle of a very fast-paced movie, but they paused for a moment to have some weird monkey guy weld his helmet back together while all the other Knights of Ren there's a ceremony around it or something. It seems that that's what they're trying to go for in that scene.
And it's funny that, and I'm glad you have this because it reminds me that there was another connection between the Rise of Skywalker and the Mandalorian involving some plot devices and helmets.
Yeah, well, it did actually. One thing that seemed to remind me of a lot was the kind of ceremonial. Every time they kind of upgraded Mando's armor, there was some ceremony around it, and so that was a very similar type of a scene where they have to kind of craft his armor and put his helmet back together. It's funny that I don't know who kept all the pieces to his helmet after he smashed it in the elevator.
They hung on to them.
The janitorial staff were like, he's going to want this back.
Don't throw it anything.
Yeah, no, he smashes it all the time. It's just part of his deal. Okay, and there was one more thing they got me, which was Luke got me
great.
This lovely wallet with a Millennium Falcon on it. Now,
my God, that's nice.
It's kind of got a chrome Millennium Falcon. Now this is the solo version of Millennium Falcon because it's got the front part there. I feel like this would actually be Lando's wallet. If Lando had a wallet in the Star Wars universe, it would be because this is what his ship looked like when he had it.
When he was most proud of it.
Yeah. And then it certainly quickly gets as soon as Han gets his hands on it, it gets trashed, and then we lose that middle piece. But yeah, that was a nice little gift. I got 2 wallets for my kids.
Really?
I got this one and I got a regular one. So I've got I'm set for wallets, and I got a nice little bobblehead.
Wallets wear out fast. They're you need a couple kicking around. Oh, that's great. You're putting the bobblehead.
It'll fit there, but we'll find a place for it anyway.
The ceremonial position here.
We've got Kylo Ren next to Luke bobblehead, and we'll grow that collection. It's actually a Funko brand bobblehead, which I thought was kind of cool.
That's great. And actually, Funko, I don't know if you saw it this week, but there's actually going to be a Werner Herzog bobblehead.
I saw it. Yeah, they're releasing a whole bunch of pop figures for the Mandalorian, including, of course, Baby Yoda and Mando. One figure I noticed was missing. Maybe I just didn't see it, but it doesn't appear that they have a Nick Nolte's character. What is his name again? It's
I have a name.
No,
and it's Quill.
Is it Queel or Quill? I feel like Quill is too close to Peter Quill from Marvel. Queel. They didn't have one of those for him, I don't think. I don't think it was. Maybe it just wasn't shown in the
I think I saw
post.
one. I think I believe I've seen one.
I mean, they've got one for the freaking Dengar, not Dengar, the other guy, one of the bounty hunter guys he fights. I mean, they've got one for almost every character in that, including like the little lizard guy he rides on. They've got to have him too. He's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know what the Funko Pop balance sheet looks like, but I don't know how they can make 6 billion of these things for every little character.
People
that appears
love
for
it.
One. Yeah, but I like it too. I like looking at it, but I mean, God, you can't be a completist and collect
No,
that stuff.
I don't think that's the point of that thing. It's like you pick your fandom. and you're a completist within that fandom. And
But
that's
how
what it is.
niche can you be and still make money? That's what I want to know. Like, is there a?
They filled 1 million niches, and they seem to like that's the draw of it. And I'm sure these things are dirt cheap to make. Like they cannot be, and they're cheap to buy. They're only $15 or something like that. So, they're not super expensive. If you were to go to a Comic-Con and pick up one thing, and you don't have a ton of money to spend, you can pick up a Funko Pop, right?
Well, I would definitely own a Werner Herzog figure.
Yeah.
For whatever, a Star Wars Black Series would be better.
See, I saw one of the toys I saw they were are releasing or did release is a talking Baby Yoda. Did they? That actually makes the
makes the moaning
little noises he makes. And I would love to have a talking Werner Herzog doll that just says, it's a complicated profession, being a bounty hunter. And then,
he has got some great speech lines, some great lines in the Mandalorian.
That's so good.
And I think he's in 3 episodes, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, first 2 and then the second last one.
That's right. So maybe, that's right, 3 episodes.
I think we see his body in the very final episode, but maybe not. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about the Mandalorian, because that was like, we'll talk about the Rise of Skywalker more as we go forward. Have you seen it again, by the way?
No, I have not seen it again. Have you?
I've seen it twice, so I'm going to see it a third time this weekend, actually. Because the other 2 kids, I took Luke to it. The other 2 went to a Moose game instead with their brother. and so I asked Luke if he wants to see it again. He said yes. And so we're going to go see it again this weekend. And then we'll kind of break it down. But I will. Only thing I'll say about it is that I know the glow is worn off now. I'm not as enamored of it as I was when I first came out of that theater. I would have to say I still like the movie, but I think the Rise of Skywalker is. Oh no, sorry, the Last Jedi is my favorite film of this trilogy. I was going to walk that back a bit.
It was on TV over the break.
Oh yeah,
The Last Jedi. Whatever the channel, Bravo, whatever the one is that shows endless on a loop.
Yeah, they had Harry Potter running on another one too. All the Harry Potter movies.
Right. So I watched a good chunk of The Last Jedi again. Canto Bight makes no sense whatsoever. Makes less sense the more you watch it.
No, but it's very well shot.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful film to look at. There is no doubt. It is better filmmaking. And the more I've sort of synthesized, I probably listened to, 30 hours of podcasting on the topic of the Rise of Skywalker, and so the discussion got heated in some people's podcasts, and other people's they just loved it to an extent that I thought, did I miss something? And then in other ones, they hated it with like a vengeance, and I was kind of like, did I miss it? Because I'm somewhere in the middle, but I still say, like, one of the things that has sort of settled in my mind is any movie that gives you some emotional moments. I can't remember when I sort of, felt I had my tears kind of welling up at a sci-fi movie.
Like the Han Solo scene, I think for sure.
Yeah,
was one of those. There's a couple of those, right? And
there's some great stuff.
Generally, any of the ones involving the original characters, as you said.
Yeah.
The first time we talked about it.
One podcast said just the opposite.
Really?
Or like anything with the original trilogy was terrible, and I was kind of
no.
But I've also settled on the idea that what's wrong with the film is wrong with the filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like right up to and including off-camera Palpatine's back. That is a big problem. That is a major, major issue, I think, that the film struggles and does not really adequately give us what we need.
Right.
So in a future podcast, I think when we talk about the Rise of Skywalker, and over the break, for an upcoming podcast, I've written a list of questions that haunt me about the Rise, and I would love to bring them and ask you. There's lots, but I could probably cut it down to the 10 most pressing questions, and I'll ask them to you, and we can try to figure out what the answer, because there are many unanswered questions.
I'm going to do the same thing then. I'm going to go see it this weekend. The rose-colored glasses are off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go see it and try to watch it a little more critically and try to pick it apart a bit, and I'll write down my questions after I see it, and we'll do that. Maybe next episode we'll do that.
I just have one question for you now. And did you find the first hour of that film to once again be just race by and be confusing and
yeah? So I read somewhere like we see 6 planets in the first 45 minutes of the movie, and it's like, whoa, slow down a bit.
Right.
It's just as bad as Rogue One was in the beginning of Rogue One. Except in Rogue One they put little titles to show us which planets they were. We criticized that at the time, but I'm like, maybe that wasn't such a bad idea.
Well, you need it in the dialogue then. And did you know the first planet is Mustafar?
No, that was not made clear at all.
No, that is not made clear, though apparently that's the case. And thanks for showing us Vader's castle. Like that was
that's all they had to show was one shot of that castle, and we would have known.
Even in the background, that would have been ultimate. And I can't help but thinking we could have set up a lot if there was a plan all along, what would have happened in The Last Jedi is we would have killed Snoke just as is, and in the throne room or somewhere, Kylo Ren would have discovered the Wayfinder to Palpatine. That's where it should. That's where the discovery should have been. And maybe the first scene where he sees Palpatine should have been the last scene of The Last Jedi. It would have blown people's minds.
Yeah, I think so. That would have
made
been
them
good
wait.
choice.
Made them wait.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's put that aside for now and discuss the Mandalorian, which everybody seems to love. I don't know anybody who doesn't like it. Some people are a little more critical than others, but overwhelmingly, it's received positive feedback, and yeah. So we obviously watched it.
We're going to talk spoilers,
yeah,
Steve, just so people know.
So you know what? I think overall we're going to say watch it. If you like Star Wars at all, watch this series. It's super easy. Now, what I said, I was talking actually on the air on CJOB with one of the hosts there last week, I think, whenever the finale went up, and I think it's, they did release this one episode at a time, week by week, but I think it's going to prove to be a really bingeable. Easy binge, because the episodes are not too long. There's only 8 of them, and I think that, or is there 10 of them?
We binged it again on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
it
that.
Was great.
I'm gonna rewatch it with my kids because they've not seen it. I think Jack watched a couple episodes, but I'm gonna rewatch it with my kids, and we're gonna try and binge it and see how well that goes over. I suspect it's gonna be good.
I'll say one thing happens when you binge it, and that is the strong episodes look incredible, and it also highlights the weaker episodes. When you watch it, it's different. When you watch it all in a row, like I definitely noticed the episodes that don't quite get it done from the ones that really get it done.
What are the weaker episodes?
Even the ones that don't quite get it done are still quite good.
Yeah.
So I would say probably the weakest one is the Bryce Dallas Howard one that she directed, which is the one where they land on the planet and help the townspeople. Oh. The Three Amigos / Magnificent Seven
right.
scenario.
Okay, I like that one. I thought that was good.
Well, there's many good moments, but when you watch it in the context of the other ones, not quite as good. Not quite as good.
All right. Cool.
I don't think it fully works. Some of the stuff that they want you to sort of hang your hat on don't pay off 100%, including the Walker hey, we're gonna stop the walker right here, 1 inch away from the hole. There's a few things like that, a few plot devices, and even Baby Yoda being lined up by the sniper or
and
whatever.
Then the sniper gets killed by what's her face.
Right. But overall, I just think it is a very solid first season. Like my favorite Star Wars since the original trilogy.
And that's the common thread here. Is that many people are saying it's the best thing that's been done in this new Star Wars era. I could agree with that. I think that it's a shame that I want to see something of this quality on the big screen. So it's a shame that they weren't able to achieve that with any of the newer films. But it's really, really good, and some great characters. As we've said in the past, Pedro Pascal does a great job just conveying different emotions, even with that mask on. And we do of course get to see his face in the final episode. So what did you think of the final episode overall? And
amazing.
How they wrapped out?
It blew me away.
See, I don't know. I didn't feel that way about it. I didn't feel like it blew me away. It was good. It was fine. But at the end of it, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I didn't seem to love it as much as a lot of other people did.
See, that's what I felt about the Rise of Skywalker. I was a little bit like, I have to give it credit on those moments that really worked. But it just didn't do it for me. But The Mandalorian, for me, that last episode, I could not get enough of it.
I wanted to know more about Baby Yoda. They did not reveal anything else about Baby Yoda.
But they left us with a juicy morsel of what's to come.
Well, I know, but I mean that's just teasing people for the second season. So we find out. Okay, so let's
that's
break
a pretty good tease.
Now, one thing I don't think we've actually talked about the previous episode either on this podcast because we had missed that show. But we see in the final 2 episodes, Gus Fring shows up. And he is so good. He is channeling Gus Fring in that role. Like he does absolutely sound like he doesn't take any shit from anybody. He's a no nonsense. Like you better give me what I want or else. And some great speeches, some great lines from him. I thought it was really, really cool that that whole sequence with him showing up there.
I will give you one assurance: I will act in my own self-interest, like total Gus.
But you believe him, and right now my self-interest involves making sure you're alive. But that might not stay the case. So that was a great.
I'll give you till sundown. I thought that was very generous.
Walking it back a bit, I actually was frustrated by the end of the second last episode, because you see it's a very kind of like suspenseful moment where the two stormtroopers are speeding towards Queel and Baby Yoda. They're running. He's on his dewback or whatever, and he's galloping towards the ship. And I was so expecting IG-11 to pop out and shoot those stormtroopers. Like, where was he the whole time?
That was probably the one element that was least satisfying in the season, because that character is so great. Let's start with that. I wanted that character around longer.
Yeah.
Now, someone needs to die to give the shows, to raise the stakes, to know that these clowns mean business or whatever. So it could have been almost anybody that could have gone. And at one point, I thought the Mandalorian himself was going to be killed.
Yeah, that was very real. I felt
Yeah.
I did feel that very much in the moment. I felt like, oh shit, he's going to die, and we're gonna that would be a twist. I mean, it's been done before. Game of Thrones did it, right, where they killed off the main character.
Well, it occurred to me maybe
season.
the person we've been calling the Mandalorian is not the title of the show.
Right.
Like, that occurred to me that maybe it is Boba Fett. Like, oh God, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
But I agree that I thought IG-11 would save the guy that basically reprogrammed him.
Yeah.
And he was close to the ship too. He was close to the
Well,
ship.
I just don't know where he was. Like, they left him behind, and then they went into the town, and he's speeding back towards the ship. Why would he not radio him and say, "We're on our way, prep the ship"?
Well,
blah, blah, blah.
it was the Mandalorian's radio broadcast that originally triggered the Empire to go chase him. Or the whatever
Right,
they
that's
are
right.
now.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing.
They had their police scanner going.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, there were some. Our hero screwed up pretty royally there, which led to the death of his friend.
Now, he probably just didn't know, I would say.
Right.
There's one thing about this character is he is absolutely flawed. He does not know everything, and he absolutely makes huge mistakes throughout the series, right? He trusts people he shouldn't trust. He gets screwed over. He gets betrayed all the time. The one constant throughout is that he loves Baby Yoda. That's very clear, is that he will do anything to protect that child, and that's very, very well conveyed, I think, throughout. And what else? So then they kill Queel. That's the cliffhanger at the end. We see him dead, and then they pick up Baby Yoda. They scoop him up, and they're on the way back. And then we open in the final episode with a lovely scene with the two stormtroopers waiting for their orders to go back into the town, waiting for the all clear to go back into the town with the baby. And that's so funny. That whole exchange is hilarious.
The red tape of them having to sit out on the outskirts and have mundane conversation. Oh, I love that is mighty in terms of Star Wars comedy, which I think the Rise of Skywalker had a bit of problems with.
Sure.
Star Wars comedy, but the Star Wars comedy in that scene, I thought that was Ryan Reynolds at first.
Yeah, I was trying to guess, because it's going to be somebody
hard,
famous.
yeah.
It turns out it was Jason Sudeikis and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Adam Pally, whoever that is. I don't know. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't. No,
me neither.
Jason Sudeikis is the guy we couldn't remember last week when we talked about Saturday Night Live. He's now playing Joe Biden on Saturday Night Live. But so this is really funny, and to me, it really kind of gets to the roots of Star Wars, which is like, you remember in the very first movie when Ben is sneaking around the Death Star, and the one stormtrooper says to the other, "You know what's going on? I don't know, some kind of drill, I guess." Like, they always have these kind of mundane conversations, right, about what's going on. They don't ever know, and they kind of talk to each other because that's all they have to talk to, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really funny dialogue that he wants to look, and he punches Baby Yoda. Oh my God, he punches Baby Yoda.
They're dumb and cruel, and they can't shoot. They try to shoot at a
that was funny.
Yeah, they punch Baby Yoda, but that just makes it better when Baby Yoda bites one of their fingers.
Yep.
That's great.
And then IG-11 shows up and kills them both.
That's great too. And in cruel, inhumane ways, he breaks their arms. The final episode I thought was great for showing Stormtrooper death in a way, like crushing of the armor multiple times in a couple different scenarios.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, where you actually heard it like
this whole series kills stormtroopers in new and creative ways, and I really enjoyed that part of it as well.
the sound of porcelain cracking, or maybe it's their head underneath the porcelain. I don't know. But
So then then Gus Fring gives his ultimatum, and they back off, and I don't. Like, I mean, whatever. He gives them till sundown. It's a very Western style thing to do, right? So you have until sundown to make your decision. And then it seems like they kind of back off I can't remember what happens next. My brain is you've watched it more than
Yeah.
once. What happens next?
Well, you just reminded me. He gives him till sundown, but on Tatooine, would you have to wait till sun's down?
I don't know.
Sun's down. There's so much in the final episode.
They're trying to get out of the building. They're trying to get through.
So they get sundown, but then our pal IG-11 comes scooting into
Right.
town on a speeder bike, and with Baby Yoda enjoying every moment of it,
Yeah.
and starts shooting up the stormtroopers.
Right.
And there's a Jawa talking to two stormtroopers, and he spares the Jawa's life, and the Jawa just goes, huh? Just looks around. Like 1 second, the Jawa is
I
between.
forgot.
Yeah.
When I saw one person posting about the conversation between the two stormtroopers, and it reminded me of the parody Troops. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah,
Something
yeah.
made years ago. It was a cops parody with stormtroopers on Tatooine, and it's so
Yeah.
well done. It's a fan film. It's so well done, and that absolutely reminds me of the stormtroopers just going around and interrogating Jawas, asking what's going on. It's so funny. So look, if you've never seen Troops, go look that up on YouTube. It's really, really funny. So then IG-11 comes in. He blasts them. He goes into the building with them, and he kind of helps them get out.
There's some in and out of the building. They leave the building, they come back into the building. There's a
they try to get out, but they can't or something, right?
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of and they bring out the heavy gun, the stormtroopers. There's lots. There's
that
just so much
flamethrower trooper with a
flamethrower
like
with
he's
a
got red armor.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And
with
the
that?
Death Troopers from Rogue One.
Yeah, those guys are there
like,
too.
Like and the TIE fighter that lands
This
with
guy's
the folding
this
wings.
guy's a
like,
Moff, right? Gus Fring's character is a Moff, not a Grand Moff, just a Moff.
Moff Gideon.
So that's Krennic. What was Krennic's rank? In Rogue One, I don't remember.
Admiral
Krennic.
Was it?
Yeah, he was going for Moff. He really
was like Thrawn, right? Admiral
Yeah, I think so.
Thrawn.
Yeah. But he had Death Troopers, so this guy's got Death Troopers. And then they have to cut their way out they have to go through the garbage chute again. No, they go through a vent to get into the sewers, essentially.
Well, before that, there's lots. Yeah, they do that. But there's also, we find out that being a Mandalorian, it's a creed, not a
race. Yeah, he is
Yes.
not by genetics a Mandalorian. He is. He was adopted into the society, and he took it on. So you don't have to be born into it. You can decide. You can convert. You can be.
Right.
It's like converting to Judaism. You can become a Jew. You can become a Mandalorian.
You can become a Mandalorian, and I couldn't help but notice they're having this discussion about Creed, and who's sitting in the room but Apollo Creed himself. So I thought that was pretty good. I thought Apollo Creed should have weighed in on that discussion.
I take back some of what I said about Carl Weathers' performance. He was really good in this. He had some great moments, and he was doing exactly what he needs to. He needs to ham it up a bit, and he does that. So I think he was good. He's not the best actor in the world, but he does hold his own in this.
You know what?
In this episode.
It's funny that you say that. I listened to Steele Saunders' podcast the other day, and he said he's not sure if Carl Weathers is the world's greatest actor or the world's worst actor. He can't tell.
Yeah.
And it's true that he brings, but I thought he's got some great lines. And
He does.
I have to say I loved all of them.
I loved in the previous episode, the second to last episode, how what's her face keeps going on about the 4 stormtrooper thing.
Yeah.
He said there was only going to be 4 stormtroopers and there's a whole battalion. She's like, 4 stormtroopers, hey? And she keeps coming back to it. Doesn't look like 4 to me. He's come on. He said it out of his ass. He didn't really know what he was talking about. That was a funny bit.
And then of course the removal of the mask.
Yeah, so everyone takes
helmet,
off. He gives Baby Yoda to them. They take off, and IG-11 stays behind too. He gets blasted, basically. Mando gets totally he's got the gun, and Gideon shoots the box, which presumably has all the ammo in it, and blows it up, and he gets his bell rung pretty hard and has a severe head injury. And then IG-88 has to take his mask off to retreat it, right? So we get to see his face.
Oh, and in that we find out that the Moff Gideon knows his name.
he knows
He
everything about them.
reveals the Mandalorian's name, Jin Jardin.
I don't remember.
I can't remember, something like that. And he's familiar with all of his enemies. He's done the research, so he knows who they are. Which leads to then the removal of the mask and Pedro Pascal's. What a performance! A 5-second performance, but it's great.
And they get around it pretty well. Where he says, "No living creature see my face," and he's like, "I'm not a living creature." Okay, fine. You're a droid, so droids can see his face. They've stuck to that rule, and they've made it. They didn't break that rule. So yeah, it takes it off. He sprays some magic Bacta on his head. I love Bacta. It's just a great thing to have.
His hair is wet and matted, and his face is scarred, and
Yeah.
he looks scared as hell.
Yeah.
Like that. I thought
Yeah.
that was a really interesting acting decision. And I was like, could a guy win an Emmy Award for
5 seconds of
Yes, for
screen
only
time?
having his face on the screen for 5 seconds. It could happen, I think.
I love how he IG-11 cracks the joke.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was very funny.
I'm trying to calm you with my bedside manner or something. Yeah.
So yeah, lots of great moments there. And then then they sneak out through the sewer and they go through a lava river.
Oh, and the most uncomfortable weird droid in Star Wars history.
Oh, yeah.
The R2 droid that
with the arms and legs. What the hell was with that? That's so weird.
That did not look good.
No.
When he suddenly rises.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
he's
what,
going-
why would you give an R2 unit that kind of limbs? That was so strange. But
There's also some weird genitals exposed there.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Well, let's just say the ball bearings in a very odd spot. It's just the whole thing is just not. It's whoever built that needs to rethink it.
Okay. No, I don't remember that, but I'll rewatch it again. Then they have to make their way down the river lava. There's probably some symbolism there. I felt like it was like they're on the river Styx in hell or something like that. Like there's something going on there. And they have to, and they have the stormtroopers waiting at the end of the tunnel, and then IG-11 has to sacrifice himself to save them.
Right.
I thought that moment could have been more dramatic, and I did not. Like I was like, we should have felt sad when IG-11 died. I didn't feel that way.
Oh, I did. I felt.
You?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. I felt bad for the poor guy.
I was, you know what I was worried about? I was like, if he explodes, the lava's just going to come back and wash over them on the boat. And it didn't, of course, because there's no. That kind of stuff doesn't happen.
They were outside the radius of the explosion.
Oh, come on. I mean, though, it should have created at least waves in the lava because he was in the middle of the river when he blew up. So you'd think that he would generate some
I don't know
kind of
if
waves.
anyone's ever thrown a hand grenade in a river of lava before.
Maybe
so.
it melts right away. I
don't know either. I don't know. I don't know
So
what the physics of that are.
IG-11 takes out the stormtroopers waiting for them at the end of the tunnel, and then they can get out and they go back to the. Although that was after they visit the Mandalorians. Cave, right? Was that? Did we skip over that part?
Oh, that's right. That was when did that? Oh, that was they did that in the tunnels before they got to the boat. So yeah, they.
So we skipped over the part where they visit the Mandalorians' hideout. Now, did those guys die? Is that what happened there, or they just leave their armor behind?
It's unclear, but the implication is they died. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is terrible because I love those Mandalorians.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
And
we were forgetting also about the flashback to the Mandalorian on his home planet.
Right. The full
yes.
scene where we see those droids, the attack droids, looking dangerous, and he gets rescued by Mandalorian.
By Mandalorians. And that was the Night Watch from the Clone Wars Mandalorians. And that's all I remember. I don't remember what their storyline was in the Clone Wars.
No, I don't either.
But you can see, I mean, people can, if they're interested, if they have Disney Plus, you can watch those episodes again. Mm-hmm. But so that we've learned that. There's the scene with the armor again. And I thought that something was going to happen that didn't happen there.
What did you think was going to happen?
I thought the armor was toast. I thought she I have to stay here. That old I have to stay here trope.
Yeah.
And I thought the stormtroopers were going to come in and she would just sit there while they shot her and she would have a noble person's death. That's what I thought would happen.
Well, she did, but she
didn't though. She kicked their ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't die? I don't remember.
No, she didn't die. She kicked their asses and she smashed their helmets with.
Well, but I think the intention was for her she thought she was going to die.
I don't know if
think
she did.
She was okay. Well, maybe
she was just meditating before she kicks ass. She's a great character.
It's a great character, yeah, for sure.
I'm glad she's still.
And it's like loves that she just gives him an upgrade every time. He gets a signet. He gets the Mudhorn signet, and then he gets his rocket pack. He finally gets his jetpack.
Oh yeah.
But what was that bit about? Like you have to train with it and you have to know it before it'll something along those lines where I felt that we were going to get a great montage of him trying to learn how to use the rocket pack and have him crashing and stuff, and we didn't get that.
The greatest American hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get anything like that. He just kind of uses it and it works for him right away. But I thought her words in that scene made me think there was more to it than just pressing on.
Well, she said, "Have you had the training as a kid?" And he said, "Yes."
Yeah. Okay.
So he knew enough about it that he could use it a little, but not to maybe its full potential. Yeah.
And then we come up. Then they go through the lava river, and then we come up to the point which Gideon comes back at them with the TIE fighter. He tries to strafe them and take them down, and he Mando fires up his rocket pack and we see that scene. It was actually the clip from the trailer way back when, where he actually opens up the TIE fighter and reaches in to grab him, kind of thing, and that was that scene. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
He's like hanging on and trying to damage the TIE fighter, and
Well, he shoots up into the air with the jetpack. Then he grabs on.
he shoots his grappling hook on it, grabs onto it, gets pulled along.
Just watching the speed at which he's getting pulled along, though, was it shocking? Actually, you don't really think of it in terms of that.
Yeah.
But
Like,
it was
I don't know if he would survive that. His neck would get snapped back or something.
Yeah, and he drops his first grenade by mistake, which I thought was pretty good because it'd be crazy windy.
Yeah.
And then I liked he places it on the wing and then jettisons.
Yeah.
And I thought for a minute that he was out of backpack fuel. I thought the Mandalorian was going to go down hard.
Yeah, well, like I said, it did seem like a really very real possibility that he could die in this episode, and I think we were meant to feel that. I think they did a good job of making us question whether or not he was going to die. Like, I think that's, you kind of go into, for example, the Rise of Skywalker or something, knowing that, Poe's not going to die or Rey's not going to die or whatever. Rey's not going to die. And that was not present in this final episode of The Mandalorian. He could have died. He really could have died. Baby Yoda could have become the Mandalorian. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then,
and we left out the part about they're the clan of two.
Right. So they're a clan. He's a foundling, and Mando must now take him to try and find his home planet
Or his people.
or his people, whatever they may be.
And
there's
there's
man. Talk about a tall order.
There's some indication that it's his planet. There's some indication it's maybe the Jedi Knights who she's told him to look for. It's a little bit unclear.
She equates the Force powers with the Jedi Knights, which I think is interesting because I thought she was going to say the Sith, and I don't know that maybe the Mandalorians never fought the Sith. I don't know. We do know they fought the Jedi. That did happen in Clone Wars and other iterations of Star Wars, but I could have sworn that she was going to go on about the Sith, and she did not mention the Sith at all. So, yeah, so he equates that creature and his Force powers with the Jedi Knights, which is interesting.
Yeah, and
but there's no mention of Yoda.
No,
like the whole legend of, and she talks about the Jedi being legend, and like it's just been completely forgotten. Yoda's been, I mean, when you think about it, Yoda's been in hiding for since the end of the Revenge of the Sith, which is like 10, 15 years before, right? When does the no 25 years? Sorry. Luke's born at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, it's like 20, 25 years.
Right.
Yoda's been out of the zeitgeist, as it were. So they don't know who he is. They don't remember him, or any other creature like that, which is very unusual.
Well, a similar theme runs through Star Wars, which is people, the average Joe isn't aware. Like Luke Skywalker's a myth, or like that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's not the communication in the galaxy is not great.
Although
especially with the Empire ruling over it.
Broom Boy heard about Luke right away.
Well, I don't know.
He was inspired by Luke instantaneously. Whereas, for some reason, the other Legends of the Galaxy just aren't generally so well known. I
think it might be a symptom of having the Empire in power for so long, and even in the time of the Mandalorian, which is 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, there's still that exists, like that kind of breakdown of communication. Whereas in 30 years down the road, when the New Republic has been in power, they've improved their news network, as it were.
Yeah.
To convey those stories.
Have they ever?
So yeah, it was fun. But I was left wanting to know more about Yoda, Baby Yoda, and where he came from, and it seems that they've just pushed that off to the next season now. So we're gonna.
But that was the point.
Well, I guess it was, but now I'm wondering, like, are they going to drag this along next season until the very end, or are we going to find out right away? Like
that sounds to me like a season 2 conclusion.
You think that's how it's going to go? Okay.
I think. Well. This is the way. And we missed. There was the big payoff at the end of the episode with the Darksaber.
Right. So
yeah.
So Gideon cuts his way out of the. I'm looking at that going. There's a hatch right there, dude. Can you not just pop that hatch? Like
maybe not.
Well, I mean, he could have cut out through the hatch. There's probably a ladder there.
The Jawas were already on it.
I know
like
they
that.
were. Yeah. But so he's got the Darksaber, which is probably the first time we've ever seen one in live action. In Star Wars, I don't think it's been in the Clone Wars, it's been in Rebels, but the idea of the Darksaber is not something that we've seen in any Star Wars film, certainly. And that is, of course, a Mandalorian weapon. It goes back to the part of the Legend of the Mandalorians. Not the same as a lightsaber. It's similar, but I think it's similar technology, but it's a different different beast, I think.
Well, there's only one.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's only
okay.
one, and I think it's oh god, there's
Because it does show up in Rebels.
Yeah. There's a legend in oh god, I'm getting my Clone Wars and my Rebels mixed up.
Right,
but
sure,
there's the legend of the dark saber, and it was sort of like the symbol for the Mandalorian people, and I think Sabine has it.
She did.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
before A New Hope.
Right. So she had it, and I think the implication is
Oh, there's a book called Darksaber by Kevin J. Anderson.
really.
Might have to read that.
I think the implication is that Moff Gideon ransacked Mandalore or was involved.
Oh,
in,
very, very much so, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the point.
Oh, yeah. This is one of a kind. Legend tells that it was created over 1,000 years ago by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order.
That's right.
There we go. After his passing, the Jedi kept the saber in their temple. This was until the members of the House of Vizsla snuck in and liberated it. They used the saber to unify the people and strike down those who would oppose them. At one time, they ruled all of Mandalore wielding this blade. The saber is an important symbol to that house and respected by the other clans. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to see more of that in season 2 as well. I thought it was a cool reveal. I really did. I'm like, oh, I knew what it was immediately. I'm like, okay. Like, I think people who aren't as familiar with the other stuff might not know what that was. They might just assume it's a different type of lightsaber, a different color of lightsaber.
Yeah,
But
it works on that level. Ooh, it's cool. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Like it works on that level, or it also pays off something that was in the Clone Wars for people who are interested in the animation and that
Right.
stuff. Right.
Yeah,
So it works on the both.
But yeah, a lot of fun, a great series, and I'm really now I think we're going to get the second season in the fall. I think is what they've said.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, are you keeping Disney Plus? Or are you going to cancel it?
I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm gonna keep it for the time being.
I think
I haven't actually researched all the movies that are on there.
Yeah, we were watching the other day. Luke was watching Gravity Falls on it, which is a great cartoon series. And we used to watch it a long time ago, and it ended a number of years ago. But they've got, I think there's only 3 seasons or 2 seasons on Disney Plus. So we just kind of like just binging that and watching Gravity Falls. And there's a number of other things, but I think that my test is going to be if I end up going like a month without using it, I'm going to cancel it. If it really turns up like, oh, I just don't, because really what's happened in the last few months, my streaming services that have been dominated by Disney Plus and Prime because of all the great shows on there, and I have not been on Netflix a ton. And then I went back on Netflix New Year's Eve. It was funny because my mom was over. We were kind of talking about Martin Short came up in conversation. We were talking about this show he did with Steve Martin for Netflix, and I was going to show it to her. And as soon as I loaded Netflix up, and I had not been on there in maybe a month, I see that season 2 of Lost in Space is now on there. So I'm like, oh! So we started watching that. So I got, but I mean, so now I'm going to go back to Netflix. I might cancel Disney Plus. Prime is something that they've got so many good shows on Prime. I'm going to keep it just because I keep going back to it. But if I don't use Disney Plus in a month, I might as well just cancel until The Mandalorian's back on.
But I mean, the reality is, if you watch one thing on it a month, you've made your money.
Oh, maybe 2 things. Maybe 2 things.
$7. I mean, I'll pay iTunes $9 now. It's $7.99 for some of the new movies.
Yeah, but those aren't going to be on Disney Plus. We're not going to get brand new movies.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that's the value of watching.
I would say the value is well, I guess that's the going rate for renting a movie on iTunes. But if you're looking for older movies, like think about the new release section and the old release section back in the video store, right? New releases were more expensive. Old releases were, I think we could get 10 for $10, I think was the deal we had at Blockbuster Video back in the day. So if you can watch 10 movies on Disney Plus, it's that's a good deal. It's funny because actually a video store here used to have that deal. Remember Movie Village had that deal was like 30. You get you pay a monthly fee, and you just get as many movies as you want as long as you return one and get another one. It's like that was the early version of Netflix.
Yeah.
Analog Netflix.
That's right.
So there you go. I know it's a lot of fun. I'm gonna as I say, I'm gonna rewatch The Mandalorian. I'm sure I'll pick out other stuff that I enjoy from it, but yeah, really solid series.
We were about to say also next season. This is what I think is gonna happen. Is this so? Baby Yoda means, and some people hate that expression because they don't think it can be.
It's
Yoda's
not Yoda. It's,
right.
We know it's not Yoda. Okay,
it's just the catch-all that everybody's decided.
Yoda's species did not have a name.
Yeah.
We're calling them Yoda.
Right.
They're all, even Yaddle is Yoda.
Right.
No,
Female Yoda. But
it looks like Yoda. It looks like a baby version of Yoda.
I think this gives them the ability to then they could go to places like Dagobah in their research. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they made a stop at Dagobah to find out if they might hear about Yoda and make a stop there.
Well, now the cool thing is now the kind of dynamic of the show changes, because before he was still kind of doing bounty hunting or trying to do that anyway when he was on the run. He was trying to find work outside the guild so he can keep getting money and keep going. But now his mission changes. So now he's trying to find Baby Yoda's people. Where does he get the money for that, though? Does he have to change his profession? Is he no longer a bounty hunter? Right? He's good with the guild again because Carl Weathers is, the guild. So hopefully he's healed that wound. But I don't know what do we keep. We're going to still see. Like, it was a very much like a Monster of the Week kind of a thing with this show, where every episode had a different adventure. There wasn't a ton of overarching story until the end. Are we going to see that again next year?
There was a thread that went through the whole thing.
The thread of Baby Yoda was through the whole thing, but are we going to see that again, where every week it's going to be a different planet? He stops on a different planet, has a different adventure, moves on.
I think the thread next time will be the research that they do to try to find out where Baby Yoda's from.
Where does he get his funding?
But I think, because Carl Weathers said you can come back, hey, now your prices just went up.
Right,
Mando.
okay.
Hey, so that's still a possibility. But I think the other thing that's at work here is, hey, we got Luke Skywalker starting his Jedi Academy around the same time.
Okay.
So that's an interesting point. There's the planet that Yoda species is from, whatever that is.
I wonder if Ben Solo's born yet.
That's just I don't think we would ever see a CGI Luke until they can really do it. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
I thought we talked about this. I think the CGI Luke in the Rise of Skywalker was pretty good.
Oh, no, I agree, but I don't think in terms of having a spoken
dialogue. Yeah, we'll get the plasticine Tarkin if we don't try harder.
But I think that's a possibility to visit the new.
Well, one thing we talked about when we first started talking about the series and first started watching it, we talked about how much we didn't want to see the familiar characters show up, right? We kind of speculated as to who could show up, and it turns out we didn't see anybody. We didn't see any characters we knew. All new stuff,
just
which was
side
great.
characters.
Like who?
Like seeing the Jawas again.
But we didn't see any. Like we didn't see Chewbacca, we didn't see Han or Leia or any of the other characters. Even Lando could have shown up at some point, right? Although he's too old. Although we could have had Donald Glover Lando. They could have done that, right? So I hope they continue that. I don't want to see all the familiar Star Wars faces, and I really hope. I think this is going to tie into our conversation about the Rise of Skywalker. But let's just leave Jon Favreau alone on this. If it ain't broke, let him do what he wants to do. Let him. He's done a good job. Like that's
did a great job.
Yeah, and he is he's the guy who launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he seems to be the guy to do the similar thing for Star Wars. So,
well, look at it this way: we have a new trilogy done by two different directors, the plan did not hang together from movie to movie. Here we've got a season of The Mandalorian done by 6 different directors,
but one overarching showrunner,
right? And it hangs together. The show there's a little maybe here and there, but the setup and the payoff were perfectly in concert with one another. And done by different directors. It shows what planning can do.
Yeah.
Which I think I don't think that JJ and Rian Johnson agreed. I think it's pretty hard to look at those movies and go, oh yeah, they shared the vision. I don't think they shared the vision.
They clearly did not.
No.
And similar to the way they do the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Kevin Feige is the common thread there. He is the overarching. He is the showrunner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you do need to have one person. I thought for Star Wars that was supposed to be Kathy Kennedy. I thought she was supposed to be the overarching kind of thread throughout, but she turned out not to be.
Well, the story group, there's a story group. But in the end, you have to edit together a film in the end, Like it doesn't, it's not like the story group gets final edit.
No, they do not. No, which is understandable. But it's interesting because back in the old days, the common thread was George Lucas. He was the only person who had a clear vision of what Star Wars was in his mind, and he was the person who that's the one thing that the prequels have on these new movies. The prequels, I would still maintain, these new movies I think are better than the prequels. Overall, just better movies than the prequels.
But what's missing from the new trilogy? With the prequels, you can point to each movie and go, but that kicked ass. That part of the movie.
One scene in each movie.
Right. But in the new ones, I don't think so.
There's one scene in The Last Jedi that I think is kicked ass, and that was the opening scene. I love that opening scene. It's still my favorite
I
opening
would
scene.
argue it would be the Luke scene.
That was also very good.
But it pissed
there are
people.
There are more than one kick-ass scene in The Last Jedi. But the common thread. See, I think if George Lucas had a very clear vision of what he wanted those prequels to be, he just was not able to execute it to his liking. He's always been that way, right? He didn't like the way he executed the original films, but the combination of all the different people working on it and how it all came together for the first 3 films made them what they are. You can't replicate that. You can't do that again.
He wanted to push tech in the prequels. He wanted to push the boundaries of filmmaking. That's where Jar Jar came from.
But he also wanted it to be a shiny new, like the original trilogy is a used universe where it's like all broken and fixing and cobbled together. He wanted the prequels to be a shiny new, like this is before the Empire, before the Dark Times. So everything's nice and new, and then they fall back technologically to what we see in the original films. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time.
But I've always thought the way that that these trilogies could have worked best is to view it this way. The first 3 are seen through the eyes of Anakin, who's a kid.
Right.
The middle 3 are your teenage rebellion years.
Luke is the protagonist.
Yeah, it's the teenagers sticking it to the man. And then I thought the last 3, what they're really about is about sort of the coming to terms with your life over, and so it would be Luke, Leia, and Han doing that. And we got maybe a little of that, but not as much as I think could have been done. And I do think one of the issues with the current trilogy is what's it about? Like, what is it about? What is it doesn't matter what family you come from, you can write your own ticket. It's kind of the message of the last movie. But I'm not sure that going in, like the other 2 trilogies have a very clear message.
Because it's George Lucas.
Right.
Crafting that message.
What's missing from the current trilogy is the clear defining what are these films about? What are we set out to prove here?
Yeah.
Or what is the moral, the lesson of these 3 films? And there kind of isn't one. There is. There's little ones.
No, I'm shaking my head in agreement with you.
Yeah,
you're right. I'm shaking my head because there should have been, but there wasn't.
Right, but maybe we're missing it too. There's that element.
Well,
too.
I'll look for it when I go see it again in the theaters this weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated by the amount of Star Wars fans, people who profess to love Star Wars, spending all their time hating Star Wars. I don't by any means hate any of this stuff. There are issues with it, and like I said, nothing is perfect, but whatever. I don't.
What do you give The Mandalorian season 1 out of 10?
Oh shit, that's like a 9 out of 10.
Wow, so you do love it.
Oh yeah, I do. I just don't love it as much as everybody else.
See, I agree with you. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I don't think it's a perfect. It's not perfect, but it's as close as we've gotten in the modern era.
What does this say about us that we love the thing that is closest in time, almost, not counting Rogue One? Although I've seen many articles come out over the last few weeks that cite Rogue One as the best movie of this I can't
agree
era.
with that.
Well, no, neither can I. But it's funny how much people seem to love the things that are closest to the original trilogy in time. So Rogue One happens just before A New Hope. This one happens 5 years after Return of the Jedi. We just want to go back to that era. We want to go back to our childhood when we first saw these movies.
I think what we are seeing in the movies and in The Mandalorian is an exploration of what Star Wars is and what makes it good. And I think Jon Favreau has unlocked the key to that more than what J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson did. Right. I do think that he got closer to it. And I actually think if The Mandalorian was the first movie out of the gate as opposed to the TV series we're watching, I think people would have been like The Force Awakens, but with someone who's doesn't have Force powers in the main role.
Well, we do see somebody with Force powers in the show, in the movie. If Baby Yoda was in it, people would have loved it.
And Baby Yoda completely stole the thunder of Babu Frick, which was, I think, their plan for their Baby Yoda.
Maybe that's true. Okay, That's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadebonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
Pulling into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Now I am the master.
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.